This story happened October 15th, 2020 on NBC Nightly News, and I'm just stunned at the level of obtuseness going on in our country. The piece is called Inspiring America, and basically what it does is it glorifies protests during the summer in Chicago that were so violent, dangerous, cost businesses their livelihood, fires, looting, so profoundly against the establishment that businesses had to board up their stores, their windows, with 4x8 pieces of plywood. Well, guess what? Eventually, the plywood got painted over. Artists painted it over, and I think they painted them over when they were still up on the buildings. Not that it matters. The point is, the pieces of wood, when they were finally taken down off the buildings, the small businesses, the store owners, they were made into voting registration booths to get people to register to vote. Now let's think about this a moment. The only reason these pieces of wood exist to begin with was to protect businesses from the violence of the protests that could not be kept peaceful in Chicago. So, and these paintings have messages on them. Their messages, and not only that, I'll play the segment for you, and you're going to hear the words hope and change right in there. I mean, this is so unveiled an attempt to say vote Democrat, and hey, by the way, this is a reminder why. Because we had to burn down we had to destroy all these buildings, and they had to protect themselves. That's why you got to vote Democrat. I mean, it's the nuttiest thing. This needs to be stopped. I mean, I'm not against getting people to register to vote, but when you give them a subliminal message at the time they register to vote Democrat, which is what this is, that's not right. And I don't know, man. I don't understand how nobody gets it. They don't get it.
And now the art of getting out the vote. Kevin Tibbles with Inspiring America.
Marking your X has never been more colorful or perhaps meaningful.
I think they represent hope, change.
Did you hear that? Hope and change. That's Barack Obama's theme.
Marking your X has never been more colorful or perhaps meaningful.
I think they represent hope, change, equity.
A summer of sometimes angry protests left many Chicago storefronts boarded up.
Sometimes angry protests. That's what they're calling it. They're calling business owners, broken glass, looted, having no choice but to board up their businesses, meaning their businesses were shut down not only because of the pandemic, but now because of the protests. They're calling them sometimes angry protests. That's the best they can do. But hey, we put a good spin on it. We took those boards and we painted them.
A discouraging message.
Within the city, our mission is to heal the city to art.
Local artists Barrett Keithley and Missy Perkins started painting them.
50 or 60 boards that had been done by 50 artists.
Now, those plywood murals taken down and transformed into voting booths, encouraging residents in minority communities to register.
Most of the time, we just feel unheard.
If just one more person votes because of this artwork, we did a good job.
A cell phone link in each booth assists with registering.
And I just think it's beautiful.
Philip Shoemaker and Natalia McCarthy check it out in a booth from a mural on their store.
I'm glad that it continues to live on in a positive manner.
Democracy is indeed a masterpiece. Kevin Tibbles, NBC News, Chicago.
What a creative idea. That's nightly news.
Okay.
Creative idea. That's nightly news for this.
Okay. This is nutty. I mean, I kind of get the Zen and the whole idea and everything, but the protests were too political. The protests chose to blame the Republican Party for things that they were not at fault about. Okay? Barack Obama was in office for 8 years. I didn't see him change police forces that much if they needed to be changed. What did he do? So to put all this on Trump and then to kind of glorify the destruction of a city and to get people, hey, remember when we destroyed Chicago and we had to put up this wood so that businesses could save their businesses a little bit? Well, now we're going to put them in voting in registration booths so you can register to vote Democrat, so we can get rid of those Republicans. That's what this is. This has to stop. I love the idea. You know, you should have used them for arcades, okay? That would have been cool. You could have used those without the messaging, too. Just nice colors, images of people, and show people in suits. I mean, don't just, if you so make a message to imply that the establishment is total crap, you're being political. These are political booths posing as registration booths. And I really hope somebody stops this soon, before the election. This is just wrong. It's also not fair to the local politicians. It's basically saying, look at these booths, vote Democrat. That's what they're saying. And to me, that's a terrible message to give, because if the protest couldn't be peaceful enough to not even need the wood, then that in and of itself is a terrible message. And to celebrate that, oh, look, yeah, now vote Democrat. I mean, it's just wrong. I love that they got a chance to paint and do artistic messaging and all that, but don't mix it up with registering the vote. Look what's happening in California with the churches. They want to put ballot boxes in front of their churches, and the state is saying, no, you can't do that because they're unmanned. There's not somebody there at all times. Great. Makes sense. I think that's actually logical. But here we are in Chicago, and they're actually using the very vestige, the very symbol of the violence and lack of peaceful messaging that went on during the protests to celebrate as a reason to not vote, to vote for one party over another. And they're putting those boards in a place where people can register to vote. That's just as wrong. See? Wrong on both sides. This idea that only one side is always wrong is wrong. This was wrong. You're wrong. You're saying it's beautiful. It's not beautiful. You can't politicize where you register to vote.